When I was a young man, I enrolled in a college course called Introduction to Philosophy, and I did this because I believed it would be an easy academic achievement. Well, when we are young and foolish, we at least have the courage to attempt great things. On the very first day, the philosophy professor sat before the class. One of the things that you just never forget, those moments in your life that become pivotal and defining. He set before us a philosophical argument that the most important thing you will ask yourself is, how shall I live? And he was right. His teaching method was unique. Rather than dry academic texts, he taught us through novels. Yes, novels. Some of this you can expect. Mark Twain's The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. Okay, we can see why that would have philosophical worth. Atlas Shrugged, an anthem by Ayn Rand. Well, since she was a philosopher by trade, we can see how that would have worth. And some of those scenes in Atlas Shrugged, they stick with you forever. But Robert Heinlein's Starship Troopers? Yes. That, on the surface, science fiction novel about space marines stomping on alien bugs is actually a long, well thought out philosophical statement about the proper use of force, just war theory, and the future of how two warring political ideals might interact with one another on an interplanetary scale. It was an amazing read. Why do I bring this up? Well, I am recently reacquainting myself with a series of bad science fiction novels about a planet on the other side of the sun, a counter-Earth. And on this planet, the most extreme depravity, lewdness, tragedies, and barbarity exist alongside the most shining examples of virtue, duty, honor, and integrity. It's a very weird mixture that has an inherent philosophy through all 35, and soon probably to be more, of its novels. This series lacks the long, detailed history of something like Tolkien's Lord of the Rings. It lacks the basis in historical facts like George R.R. Martin's A Song of Fire and Ice, which is essentially a mythologized version of the War of the Roses. And yet what it has is this inherent philosophy that allows its characters never to act out of character, like they do in Marion Zimmer Bradley's The Mists of Avalon. These other series I've mentioned are well loved and have their own followings, but you don't see people that have read Mists of Avalon go out trying to create Morgan Le Fay's Avonlea. You don't see Tolkien fans getting ready to lay the siege of Middle-earth. And you don't see Martin fans getting ready to try to somehow bring dragons back to life. They may quip, "Not today," quoting Cyril Florel. They may say "Me Gavanen" to one another, quoting Tolkien. Or they may even have fantasies that the Virgin Mary is the outgrowth of the pagan goddess, if they're fans of Marion Zimmer Bradley. But by and large, these works of fiction don't tell us anything about how to live our lives. That's not true of Gor. And the series has baggage, don't get me wrong, lots of baggage. When I see someone running around calling themselves a Kajira, their mental health is something to be questioned. But when I hear the in-depth philosophical discussions about what is strength, what is virtue, what should be the roles of men and women in regards to one another in a relationship, these are all things that you get when you read Gor. Quite the achievement for a series of books written as an escapist fantasy, where men have sword fights on the back of giant birds. And yet it's there. There are valuable lessons for living that can be gained from these novels if you're willing to look for them and dismiss the parts of the world that horrify you. And to that end, we begin this playlist that I'm calling The Wisdom of Gor.